Alexander Pope was an 18th century English poet, best known for his use of satirical verse and his translations of the classics. He was famous for using heroic couplet, also known as iambic pentameter. He is the third most frequently quoted writer in the Oxford Dictionary of Quotations, and his most famous poems include The Rape of a Lock and an essay on criticism. He was born on May 21, 1688, to Alexander and Edith Pope. His father was a linen merchant, and he was born in London, England, and their family were Catholic. He suffered from many health problems starting at age 12. He had Pott's disease, which is a type of tuberculosis affecting the bone. This stunted his growth, and he grew to only be 4 feet 6 inches, and he also had a severe hunchback. Also, this caused other problems like respiratory difficulties, high fevers, inflamed eyes, abdominal pain, and headaches. This caused him to be alienated from society. Pope's education was affected by the Test Acts, which banned Catholics from teaching, going to college, and voting. He was taught to read by his aunt. Later, he illegally went to the Twyford School and then 2 other high schools in London. Not only was he shunned because of his health, but now he was shunned because of his beliefs. His family moved to Popeswood in Berkshire because of the strong anti-Catholic sentiment which prevented Catholics from living within 10 miles of London or Westminster. Later in his career, he described the countryside in his poem, Windsor Forest. After Pope moved to Popeswood, his formal education ended. He began to teach himself by reading classical satirists like Horace, Juvenal, Homer, and Virgil. He also studied English authors like Chaucer, Shakespeare, and Dryden. He taught himself to read and write many languages. These languages included French, Italian, Latin, and Greek. However, during this time, he would mainly focus on the poems. After 5 years of studying and learning, he became a member of London's Literary Society. Once Pope was in the Literary Society, he made many important friends because of his work. One of them was John Carl, who he later dedicated one of his most famous poems to, The Rape of a Lock. Carl introduced him to many in the literary world. Pope never married because he spent much of his time focusing on his poems. However, he did take some of this time to write to several of his female friends. He had an alleged lover named Martha Blount, who was his lifelong friend. Many question whether his famous poem Celia was written for her. In 1709, his Pastorals was published in Tolstoy's Poetical Miscellanies. This brought him instant fame, and his work was received well. He made friends with John Gay, Jonathan Swift, Thomas Parnell, and John Arthur Bennett. They created the Scribblers' Club, which aimed to satirize the ignorance through the character Martinius Scriblerus. He contributed his work to many plays. He wrote The Guardian and The Spectator. He also translated the Iliad and the Odyssey, which made him a lot of money. With this money, he created many of his famous grotto gardens. These gardens consisted of beautiful flowers and elaborate designs, all designed by him. To Pope, these gardens were another way of expressing himself and telling a story as a retired writer. Alexander Pope was one of the most well-rounded men of the 18th century. His range of work covered all areas of literature. His poetry is well known and respected. He pioneered the use of satirical verse and heroic couplet. His morals, high standards, and drive set him apart from the other poets and philosophers of the time. He had the perfect balance between serious and funny, genius and lightheartedness. He knew when to joke and when to be serious. His self-discipline was remarkable. He had time for exploration and time for reflection. No matter what life threw at him, he found a way to keep moving forward with passion. His country, his body, nor negativity prohibited him from succeeding, neither in his career nor in his life. Little Learning by Alexander Pope. A little learning is a dangerous thing. Drink deep or taste not the Pierian spring. There swallow draughts intoxicate the brain, and drinking largely sobers us again. Fired at first sight with what the muse imparts, in fearless youth we attempt the heights of arts. While from the bounded level of our mind, short views we take, nor see the length behind. But more advanced, behold with strange surprise, new distant scenes of endless science arise. So pleased at first with towering Alps we try, mount over the vales and seems to tread the sky. The eternal snow appears already past, and the first clouds and mountains seem the last. But who attained, we tremble to survey the growing labours of the lengthened way. The increasing prospect tires our wandering eyes. He'll peep over hills, the Alps on Alps arise.